You're listening to IsReal News, 3 daily briefings on the Middle East and on global developments.
From IsReal News, this is the midday briefing for Saturday, April 25th. President Trump says he has canceled plans for a U.S. delegation to travel to Pakistan for talks with Iranian representatives. Trump says the trip would have been a waste of time. He says Iran's leadership is divided and confused, and that the United States holds, in his words, all the cards. Trump says if Iran wants to talk, all it has to do is call. The president says he told his team not to make the 18-hour flight to Islamabad, just to sit down and, in his words, talk about nothing. The decision comes as tensions continue along Israel's northern border, despite the extension of a ceasefire with Hezbollah. The Israeli military says a suspicious aerial target launched from Lebanon was intercepted over northern Israel. Contact was lost with another suspicious aerial target. No injuries are reported. Sirens sounded in several communities in the western Galilee, including Rosh Hanakra, Shlomi, and Hanita. The IDF calls the launches a blatant violation of the ceasefire by Hezbollah. Earlier, 2 rockets were launched from Lebanon toward the Galilee. One exploded in an open area, and the other was intercepted. There were no injuries. The IDF says 6 Hezbollah terrorists were killed today in southern Lebanon. The military says some were traveling in an armed pickup truck, another was on a motorcycle, and 2 others were identified near the Litani River before being struck from the air. The IDF also says it struck Hezbollah launchers overnight in several areas of southern Lebanon. Later, after the rocket and drone launches, it struck buildings used by Hezbollah, including by the Radwan force, and a weapons storage site south of the forward defense line. Local leaders in northern Israel are sharply criticizing the situation. The head of the Upper Galilee Regional Council says this is not a ceasefire, but a tense quiet that has again been broken by rocket fire. Other northern officials accuse the government of abandoning residents and failing to restore real security. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel has full freedom of action against every threat, including emerging threats. He says Israel struck yesterday and today and is determined to restore security to residents of the north. Netanyahu also says he had an excellent conversation with President Trump and that the United States is pressing Iran hard, both economically and militarily. Meanwhile, new reporting by the New York Times raises questions about Iran's remaining nuclear stockpile. The focus of U.S.-Iran discussions has been about highly enriched uranium believed to be buried at a bombed facility. But according to the material provided, Iran has roughly 11 tons of uranium enriched at different levels. With further processing, experts say that could be enough for dozens of potential nuclear weapons. The location of that broader stockpile is not clear, and new details are emerging about a broader Israeli plan that had been aimed at creating conditions for the fall of Iran's regime. The plan reportedly involved a combination of strikes on senior leadership, efforts to encourage public unrest, and a possible Kurdish-led ground move from Iraq. But the operation did not go forward. According to the reporting by Israel's Ynet, President Trump halted the Kurdish move after objections inside his administration and after a call from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The account says Israel and the United States entered the campaign with expectations that Iran's regime might weaken quickly. But the regime survived, public protests did not materialize, and the path shifted back toward diplomacy. In Africa, Mali is facing what appears to be its largest coordinated attack in years. Armed jihadists linked to al-Qaeda and separatists from northern Mali are reported to be working together in attacks across the country, including in the capital, Bamako. Gunfire was heard near Bamako's airport, and reports describe explosions and hours of fighting in several cities. In one town, rebels claimed to have captured the governor's palace and raised their flag. In another, they claimed the defense minister's home was attacked. Mali has been battling separatist and jihadist violence since 2012. The military junta has broken with France and turned instead to Russian mercenaries. But the jihadist threat has continued to grow across Mali and the wider Sahel region. There are fears that if Mali's military government collapses, the result could be wider chaos, giving jihadist groups more room to expand their control. Those are the latest headlines from IsReal News.
Follow IsReal News for 3 daily briefings. Fast, factual, and to the point.